Take a look at your old photos, for you might catch a glimpse of the man with the upside down face. The upside down man is one of the most meanest and evil monsters. He loves to cause pain and death in order to feed off that energy. Photos from the 1910s to the 1960s started appearing online, and they look just like tragic events until you look closely at the background and you see the monster. He is not able to cause tragic events, but he is able to make the situation worse, like making arguments turn violent and blowing out tires to cause an accident. If you guys like monsters, scary stories, and lore, please support this video by liking it. Thank you.
This is why you should never talk to strangers in an elevator. One day, a surgeon was working the night shift at a hospital. He just finished this operation on a patient and was going to the basement. He entered the elevator and there was one other woman already inside. They were casually chatting when the elevator door opened and another woman was about to enter. But the surgeon looked horrified. He quickly slammed the close button and punched the highest floor of the building. Surprised, the woman asked why he was being so rude and wouldn't let the other woman in the elevator with them. The surgeon explained that in this hospital, all patients wear white wristbands with their names printed on them, but the red wristbands are placed on all of the corpses. The surgeon then looks to the woman in the elevator with him and says, "That was the same woman I just operated on. She died on the operating table. Didn't you see the red wristband she was wearing?"
This is why you should never play hide and seek. A mom decided to play hide and seek with her 2 kids. The mom began counting, ready or not, here I come. She begins searching the downstairs kitchen because she knows that they hide there every single time. As she's walking to the kitchen, she starts saying, I wonder where they are. She looks under the table and sees they aren't there, which is kind of odd. She knew they were too scared to go into the basement alone, but she decided to check anyway. They weren't there either. She began to panic. The mom then says, "Jordan, Casey, come out now. Mommy's not playing anymore." There was no answer. Panic really begins to set in. She decides to call 911 and reaches an operator. She tells the operator what's wrong and the operator sends an officer to her house. Once the officer arrives, he says, "Don't worry, we will find them." As she's sitting in the living room, she hears giggling and laughing and hears a closet door slam upstairs. She sprints upstairs and says, "Jordan, Casey, you worried me sick." She opened the closet door and nobody was there. While all of this is going on, she hears the doorbell ring. She runs downstairs and finds the officer holding Jordan and Casey. The officer says they were hiding in the shed out back. Then Jordan looks at mommy and says, "Why were you telling us to stay in the shed?"
If you or your family have one of these bumper stickers in your car right now, I suggest you go and rip it off. Now, if you don't already know, these beloved stickers are a red flag to pedophiles to know exactly who's in your family. In a case not too long ago, a mother was driving home from her soccer game with her 6-year-old daughter. They'd stopped in a service station to pour petrol, and as they did, a car quietly pulled in behind them. The man could quickly see that there was just a young mother and her daughter, and from the back of the van, she could tell there was no husband, 2 other kids, and a dog. The cameras then catch her car leaving and heading out onto the road, followed quickly by the man in the car. The very next night, a family member found their house wide open. The family dog was laying dead in the hallway. It had been given some meat with poison in it. The mother was suddenly woken, but she had been asleep for more than 16 hours. Later discovered she was injected with the drug to put her to sleep, and her oldest daughter was missing, along with her 4 and 6-year-old daughters too. It's believed they were taken for human trafficking, so beware and remove those stickers.
This is why you should always keep your head on a swivel. In 2017, an elderly woman who lived alone thought she saw something moving in her backyard and went to the window to have a look. As she's looking around, a shadowy figure emerges right on the other side of the glass, standing in her backyard. Terrified, she keeps an eye on the figure while calling police, but by the time she hangs up, the figure's gone. When the police arrive, her front door is unlocked, so they go inside and they find her still sitting in front of the window looking for this figure. The police search the backyard, but they don't find anything. When the police go back inside to search the house, they quickly find some large footprints that couldn't have been hers in the room that she was sitting in and all around the first floor. That's when they realized what was going on. She wasn't seeing a shadowy figure in her backyard. She was seeing the reflection of someone in the room with her. This is why you should be careful what you put in the mail. In 2015, a man was asked by his neighbor to collect his mail while he was gone for a few weeks. A few days later, a large package arrives on his neighbor's front porch. The man can barely lift it, but gets over to his garage where he accidentally drops it and hears something break inside. Hoping his neighbor would think the damage occurred en route, he closes his squeaky garage door and forgets about it. But over the next couple of days, whatever was in that package started to smell so bad that he decides to open it up. Inside were two very important finds: his neighbor, who was dead, and a camera that was still recording. The police bring the man in for questioning and show him what was on the camera inside the box. It starts with his neighbor talking to the camera about how excited he is to mail himself home for his YouTube channel. Then, police fast forward to the very end where they see that the neighbor is now sleeping in the box, and then suddenly gets dropped and you hear a crack, and that's his neck breaking. And then you hear a squeaky garage door close.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A class was playing a game of Kahoot when they heard a voice on the intercom say, "This is not a drill, go into lockdown." The students huddled in the back of the classroom and then the power went off. Minutes later, the students heard the sound of a man screaming at the top of his lungs, running down the hallway. The lunatic man started banging on the lockers and his screams gradually got louder. He then started banging on the classroom window, yelling, "Open up." He eventually left, and 10 minutes later, a voice on the intercom said a mentally ill person had entered the school and attacked the lady at the front desk. The staff did a sweep of the school and still couldn't find him, so they locked the doors and resumed class. Later that night, one of the janitors went into the utility closet when this happened.
If this creature knocks on your door on Halloween, make sure you give it candy. 2 years ago, all the inhabitants of a small town went missing except for a young girl named Tara. When police asked her where everyone went, she told them that there was some type of monster with large horns that went door to door asking for candy, but that her town had stopped giving out candy on Halloween. She watched as each time a family didn't fill up the creature's pillowcase with candy, it dragged them into the river behind the town. Tara later said that she was the only one who survived because she had a small Snickers bar her teacher had given her, and she offered it to the creature, who nodded, patted her on the head, and went back to the river without her.
Scary Things You Say Part 23. My son said to me, "Remember when I was Uncle Maury?" That was my brother. His name was Maury. He died when he was 33 and my son was born 5 years later. When I was little, over a year old, my mom was walking down the stairs. I told her, "Be careful, Mommy. That's how my husband died." What the heck? Babies know everything. I was 5. I found it out because my little brother talked to me but no one believes me. He said, "I know your pain." I was screaming. My son was 3.5 years when he told me how much I was crying for a baby. He'd say, "God told me to wait because it wasn't my time." This is so I find it fascinating actually, not scary. Mine asks why the little boy that lives with us is always sad. I had a miscarriage prior to having him. Oh, this is so sad. My 6-year-old niece once asked, "Where were we before we were here?"